Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Chloe. Welcome if you're new. Please hit the subscribe button below and hit that notification bell. A lot happened in this president's lifetime, or term in office, in his 4 years, so I'm just going to jump right into it. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do these Monday through Friday and then take the weekend off. So today we're talking about Andrew Johnson, who was our 17th president. He served from 1865 to 1869, and he replaced Abraham Lincoln, who we talked about in the last presidential highlights video. And so he had been Lincoln's vice president, and so he did not have a vice president. So during his term, his vice presidency was vacant. So here's a picture of Andrew Johnson, and yes, he does look like he's a grumpy old man, and after researching him, you'll find out he wasn't a very nice guy. Don't know how he ended up being vice president for Abraham Lincoln in his second term, but anyway, moving forward. April 15th, 1865, Johnson was sworn in. It took place in his hotel room at the Kirkwood House. He was the Chief Justice Salmon P. Chase oversees the proceeding, and he was known as a racist, uneducated Southerner from Tennessee. Now, remember in our last video, the Civil War had just ended, so things are still kind of a little heated in the North and the South. April 18th, 1865, adjusting terms of surrender. Terms between the Union General William Tecumseh and Confederate General Joseph E. Johnston were too lenient, so Johnston surrenders on April 26th on harsher terms. April 21st, 1865, Lincoln's funeral train departs, and it travels from Washington, D.C. to Springfield, Illinois, which I believe is where he's buried. May 2nd, 1865, arresting Confederates. Johnson offers reward for arrests of Jefferson Davis, Jacob Thompson, and Clement C. Clay, Jr. May 23rd, 1865, celebrations in D.C. Johnson presides over a series of reviews of the Army of the Potomac and the Army of Tennessee. So the celebrations were about the end of the war. May 29, 1865, Johnson grants amnesty. 2 proclamations restoring the Confederate States back to the Union. All white Southerners who take loyalty oath regain their property. Confederate officials and planters whose property is worth more than $20,000 are excluded from that. Reconstruction plan begins for North Carolina, which is the blueprint for all the southern states. And new constituents abolishing slavery. New constitutions abolishing slavery and renouncing secession. June 9th, 1865, Johnson moves in, officially takes residence in the White House. I'm going to go through this kind of quickly because there's a lot to cover. June 13th, 1865, Sharkey provisionally appointed governor. William L. Sharkey of Mississippi was appointed the governor of Mississippi. Johnson also appoints governors to Georgia, Texas, Alabama, South Carolina, and Florida. December 2nd, 1865, the Black Code. Mississippi enacts restrictions, newly won rights. Mississippi enacts the Black Code, which restricts newly won rights of African Americans. It keeps the freedmen in separate and inferior positions, and other Confederate states. Again, I can't read my writing. Follow suit. Mississippi and South Carolina are the most stringent. December 4th, 1865, Johnson's first annual message to the 39th Congress, can't talk today either. Republicans remain suspicious of Johnson and his policies, and rightfully so. December 12th, 1865, replacing provisional governors. Johnson orders Governor Sharkey to step down and put elected successor in office. This is the beginning of all of this going on between Sharkey and Johnson. He did the same for Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and Florida. February 19th, 1866, extending the Freedmen's Bureau, Johnson vetoes the bill, and it would have extended power of the Bureau. February 22nd, 1866, Johnson denounces radical Republicans, specifically Representative, I'm probably going to butcher this name, Thaddeus Stevens, Senator Johnson Sumner, and reformer Wendell Phillips as traitors. March 27, 1866, Johnson vetoes the Civil Rights Act, second attempt by Congress to provide freedmen federal citizenship. Senate overrides the veto on April 6. 3 days later, the House also overrides it. June 1st, 1866, the Fenian Raid and the Battle of Ridgeway. I feel a sneeze coming on. Oh my gosh. Takes place in Canada between the Canadian militiamen and Fenian Brotherhood, which was an Irish Americans organizing lobby for freeing Ireland. The Brotherhood was founded in New York in 1858, and they hoped to capture Canada to send a message to Britain, but they failed. So the Irish are also part of this, part of our culture too, part of our history. June 19th, 1866, the 14th Amendment. All persons born or naturalized in the U.S. and subject to jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the U.S. and the state they reside. Once it was passed, it overturned the Dred Scott decision of 1857. July 1st, 1866, William Dennison, James Speed, and James Harlan resign. They belonged to the Radical Republicans. They were replaced with Republicans who supported Johnson. Does this sound like somebody very recently, maybe? July 16th, 1866, Congress overrides Johnson's veto, the Freedmen's Bureau Act. July 24th, 1866, Tennessee is readmitted. After the 14th Amendment was ratified, Tennessee becomes a Union state. August 28th, 1866, Johnson begins speaking tour. It was called the Swing Around the Circle, and it happened in eastern and midwestern states, and he returned to D.C. on September 15th. November 1st, 1866, Johnson suffers congressional losses. Radical Republicans score more victories. During the summer, white rioters in Memphis and New Orleans attacked residents in mostly black sections. Again, I mean no disrespect to anybody. March 1st, 1867, Nebraska becomes a state. It becomes the 37th state, so now it's not Union or slave or non-slave, it's just a state. March 27th, 1867, First Reconstruction Act sets up 5 military districts by the Congress. Legislature passes the Army Appropriation Act, which takes power from Johnson. He's not happy about that. So what it says is Johnson can't remove cabinet members without the Senate's consent. Remember that. Congress hopes to protect the Secretary of War, Edwin Stanton, who was a radical Republican. Stanton and Johnson had a problem. March 23rd, 1867, Johnson vetoes the Second Reconstruction Act, and it's overridden. It orders military commanders in the South to call elections. Congress overrides it the same day. March 30th, 1867, Seward's icebox, quote unquote. Secretary of State William H. Seward agrees to a treaty with Russia, and it allows the U.S. to buy Alaska for $7.2 million. July 19, 1867, Johnson vetoes the Third Reconstruction Act. Election procedures in the South, congressional control over Reconstruction. Congress overrides it again the same day. Johnson really doesn't want that Reconstruction Act to go into play. August 5th, 1867, Johnson asks Secretary of War to resign. Edwin Stanton refuses. So now you got a little bit of beef between Johnson and Stanton. August 12th, 1867, Johnson suspends Secretary Stanton, the commission, and commissions Ulysses S. Grant as ad interim. August 28th, 1867, taking Midway Islands. U.S. takes possession, and the Midway Islands, in case you don't know, are in the Pacific Ocean. December 3rd, 1867, Johnson gives the annual message, defends his policies towards ex-Confederates. December 12th, 1867, defending Stanton's suspension, submits reasons to the Senate. January 13th, 1868, Senate refusal. They concur with the removal of Stanton. It doesn't sound right the way I have it written, but they wanted to keep Stanton in, I think is what it was. Okay, so January 14th, 1868, Stanton's return. Grant vacates the post and gives it back to Stanton. February 21st, 1868, Johnson violates the Tenure of Office Act and removes Stanton and gives the post to General Lorenzo Thomas. Stanton refuses to leave and barricades himself in the cabinet office for 2 months. This begins an impeachment of Johnson. So the first impeachment of a president. February 24th, 1868, the House of Representatives votes to impeach Johnson. 126 to 47 vote is along party lines. March 4th, 1868, articles of impeachment. The House appoints 7 managers to go before the Senate with 11 articles. 8 relate to the Tenure of Office Act. March 5th, 1868, impeachment trial begins. Now remember, Stanton is still barricaded in the cabinet office. Probably doing work, but it didn't say so. Chief Justice Salmon P. Chase resides. Salmon P. Chase did a lot. May 16th, 1868, failure to convict. The Senate votes 35 to 19 to convict, but it was 1 vote short of the 2/3 majority. So, and 7 Republicans vote against it, against impeachment. May 20th, 1868, the Republican National Convention nominates Ulysses S. Grant. They meet in Chicago. Johnson is guilty, and they say that Johnson is guilty because of the Stanton thing. So they nominate Ulysses S. Grant as president and Schuyler Colfax as vice president. Grant has no political experience, which I didn't know. May 26, 1868, Johnson is acquitted. Senate acquits on counts 2 and 3. The other 8 are never voted on. Almost done. So June 1st, 1868, Johnson vetoes readmission and it was overridden. Several ex-Confederate states to the Union. He vetoes readmission of several ex-Confederate states to the Union, and Congress overrides that. July 9th, 1868, the Burlingame Treaty, and that was between U.S. and China. It didn't really go into a lot of details, so do your research. November 1st, 1868, Grant narrowly defeats Seymour. Democrat nominee Horatio Seymour is who Ulysses S. Grant was up against. They didn't say the nomination because I went back and looked. I'm like, did I miss the DNC? Grant wins by 300,000 votes, 450,000 black Republican votes. December 8th, 1868, Johnson's final message requests repeal of Reconstruction Acts. March 4th, 1869, Ulysses S. Grant is inaugurated, but Johnson refuses to attend. Very interesting. So tomorrow we will be working on our 18th president, which was Ulysses S. Grant. He served quite a long term, so he had 2 different vice presidents during his term. So welcome to the new year. Hope you guys had a great holiday. Hope you guys stayed safe. Let's put 2020 in our rearview mirror and focus on positivity this year. Work on yourself. Make yourself positive. Make yourself happy. and then spread your sunshine to everybody you meet, just like I'm trying to do. So come back tomorrow for USCSS Grant, and we'll talk about him tomorrow and the 60 things that he did. So hopefully I can get it all done in one video and not have to break it down into 2 videos. But as I said, the closer we get to the end, to the more recent presidents, there's a lot more stuff that has happened in recent years. A lot of it is school shootings and bad things and blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to have to make several videos for one president, because as I was looking just at Obama's presidency, there was a lot that happened. A lot. And there's no way I can get that done in 18 and a half minutes. So as we move ahead, you're going to be finding more 2-part, 3-part, 4-part videos. Hopefully they won't have to go past 2, but we'll just have to see what all I write down and if my hand can handle it. So thanks for joining me today. Thanks for joining me on this journey. You guys have a sunny day. Class dismissed. See you back tomorrow.